Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So today you join me in a different scene because I'm actually near my cab. So this is my server cabinet. Obviously I've got two switches up top and then the server that we're going to be working on today. So today I'm going to be showing you a complete guide how to install macOS Sonoma the new way using Proxmox. So what I'll do, I'll pull this server out and take the top lid off and we'll actually have a look what's inside. So you can see we're inside the server now. You can see cable management isn't the best, but it's the best that I could do for such a small server case. So this is a 4U server case that I got for Amazon, and basically there's just consumer parts in it. So there's a 700 watt power supply driving all of this system, with a Ryzen 7 2700X at 3.7 gigahertz, a very dusty 2700X. And then I have a 1 gigabit per second Ethernet card. This motherboard, the Asus, sorry not the Asus, the ASRock Pro 4 does have onboard 1 gigabit Ethernet, but I just like having this secondary, mainly because I have the primary onboard Ethernet for all VMs, and then all my server instances like my NAS go through this, just to balance the bandwidth. Then I have this actual RX 580. It's the 2048 SP version though, so it's actually just RX 570, and I've actually had to flash the VBIOS. Then next to that we have a blank slot, but after that we have the FenV Wi-Fi Bluetooth card that I covered in one of my previous videos, so if you want to check that out, again visit my channel. And then lastly I have this SATA card, which is obviously for all my drives, because I've got quite a lot of drives in this system. So I've got a RAID array of disks here, you can see, 3, but actually only 2 is operational because that one's failed. And then I have a 2 terabyte drive inside for all sort of like VMs that don't need SSD. And then I have a 4 terabyte WD Purple for my NAS. Yeah, it's not rated, but I'll explain more about that in a moment. And then below that I have a 1 terabyte Western Digital Blue, again for just VM storage. So you might be thinking, why is my NAS not actually rated? And that's because I have this. So this is another NAS. So I have a Proxmox backup job that backs up to this NAS from that NAS. So it's basically like RAID but over the network. I also have a 2 terabyte mobile hard drive. Again, it's very bare bones and it's quite dangerous having it like this, but it's a local backup that goes to USB 3. So there's quite a lot of backup things involved, and I actually do have, because I run the Synology VM, I have a backup that goes to the cloud of all the essentials like photos, etc. Without further ado though, let's stop going on about the setup, and what we're going to do is actually get the Proxmox installer started up. So for that, what I need to do is obviously go to my PC now, and then we'll actually get started. So you can see we're on my PC now. Again, obviously I'm using Windows in this case, but you can do it on any OS really. So it's quite simple. We're going to need 2 things really: the Proxmox ISO image and Balena Etcher to write the Proxmox ISO to it. You can use something like Rufus, but again, Balena Etcher, it's just better for writing Linux OSs. So we're going to go to proxmox.com first, and we're going to click Downloads, Proxmox Virtual Environment, and then version 8. So if we click Download, again, save it to a place you want to download, and then again, you can see now we're downloading. Again, depending on your internet connection, this can take a while, but obviously, like if you're like me, 280 megabits per second, it doesn't take too long at all. But again, whilst we wait for that, we're going to go to Balena Etcher in Google search, this one here, click download Etcher, and then choose the right one for your operating system. Now I'm on Windows, it's a portable version or an installer. You want to download the installer, just install it for future reference, you know, if you need another Linux OS, it's already there. But once that's installed, you can open it up from your start menu. Once it's open, it's a window like this. Now, if I click Flash from File, select my Proxmox ISO image, the next step is getting a USB drive. So over 4 GB in size, but again, I'm just going to show you. I have this SanDisk Cruiser Glide 3.0 32 gig USB that I'm going to use, but again, depending on obviously your resources available, depends on obviously how big your USB is. So I'm just going to plug that into my PC right now. So you can see now we're on to select target. I've plugged the USB in, so you can see the target there, the Cruiser Glide 3.0 USB device. Click on select and then click on flash. Command prompt window might come up, just click on yes. And now the writing process begins. Again, sit back, relax, get a coffee, whatever you want, and you can see about a minute. But once that's done, we're actually ready to actually boot into the installer and begin to install Proxmox. Now this is the most hands-on part with the actual server that you're going to get. Regarding hardware, just whilst we wait for this, so hardware's a difficult one with Hackintosh. Now the new way opens up new options, but it doesn't for GPUs. So in many of my guides, we always get hammered asking what GPUs are supported, this and that. If you literally go onto my website and click on HSV Hackintosh, there's everything that you need to know. So you can see useful new way links. You click on GPU compatibility checklist, and you can see, look, every GPU that's compatible on there. And if it's not compatible, it's either listed as not compatible like this, or it's listed as it's not listed, which means it's not compatible. So if you go and ask, for example, me or Tor or the Discord team, is my 1660 supported? It's a waste of time asking, because look, 780 Ti is maximally supported. So before asking us, please do consider checking out this for your GPU. It just saves us time, and it also saves you time waiting for us to reply. And yeah, everything that you need to know is on this page. If you're wondering what these error messages, just click OK on them. It's just whilst the install is writing. Again, there's a guide on pass-through, but I'm going to just show you that today. And same with the kernel update. I'll show you Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices, them that are supported. This is the one that I'm actually using here. Cheap on AliExpress. It's brilliant. And obviously we'll get onto this in a little while. But basically, you can see flash completed. So let's actually get onto the installer. So I've got the USB plugged in now, so I'm going to power on the machine that we're going to be installing Proxmox on. Obviously, if you do need any help getting that set up, which is self-explanatory to begin with, so if you find that a bit difficult, then this video is not for you, because it's going to get a lot more difficult than booting into the BIOS. Anyway, I'm in the BIOS. You can see 96 gigs of RAM showing up just fine, and basically all we're going to do is go right to the end and click load EFI BIOS defaults. If I do that, yes, and then save changes and exit, and then wait for the device to reboot, boot into the BIOS again, and now I'm going to actually show you how to set the right BIOS settings for Proxmox. It's basically really basic, the BIOS settings, but again, I'll show you. So I'm going to go straight over to advanced in my ASRock motherboard. Go to CPU configuration, make sure SVM is enabled for virtualization. That's all we need to do in there. In PCI, we're going to have to go back to that because we have to change a setting. But basically, go through the settings. I'm going to go to AMD CBS and make sure everything's on auto. NB, enable ACS. You can't have it on auto because it won't work. Obviously, Your BIOS settings may look different than mine, but this is for ASRock. There are similar settings on all boards. If you don't find a setting that's in this guide, don't worry, it's because I'm on AMD. So, we need to go to the boot and turn off CSM, because that is terrible. Turn it off, and then we'll go back to advanced PCI configuration, and then above 4G decoding, we can enable that. Don't have resizable bar, and if we go back to CBS and VIO, make sure IOM is enabled, not auto, it's enabled. ACS is enabled, and that's really it for AMD. If you're on Intel, obviously VTD and VTX needs to be enabled, and that's pretty much it. Here's my PBS settings if you want to copy them, but this is currently what I'm using. Once that's done, save changes and exit, and then for me it's F8, the boot key, but for you it might be a little different. Look online for the BIOS key, the boot key regarding your motherboard. It's actually F11, sorry, not F8. On Asus I know it is F8. Then I'm going to select the SanDisk partition and then boot into the graphical installer, not the CLI, just because the graphical is much easier to understand, and it's going to just obviously load into the installer. It should also start to grab an IP address, which we should see in a moment. If it doesn't grab an IP address, that could be a problem. You can see it's discovering DHCP now, and you can see it's got an IP address, which is great. Obviously, make sure you've got DHCP on your router. Any normal router should have it enabled, and now it's just going to try to detect my country, and you can see now we're in this setup. Now I've only got a keyboard attached, so I'll have to tab through this, but keyboard and mouse obviously makes it easier. So I'm going to agree to these terms. The boot device, obviously I've got a lot here. I'm going to do it on my 250 gig SATA SSD. Next. All this is right for me. It should, whoops, I don't know why the time zone changed there. It should just be right for you if your country's set correctly. Set a password and an email address, unless you want to, set up separately. So I'm going to call it home host, which is hypervisor host .local. The IP is fine because that's the normal one that I always set for this server, and then I'm going to put the DNS server to Google's, which is 8.8.8.8. Click on next, and then just turn off automatically reboot because I don't like it, and then click install. Now it won't keep you waiting, we'll wait until it's installed, which shouldn't take too long, around 3 minutes. So obviously it's making system bootable, the final step before we're actually ready to reboot. So as far as interacting with the server physically now, this is pretty much it. After we press enter, we don't really need to boot, so if we press enter now, it's going to reboot. Disconnect your USB drive, as you can see it says there, remove the ISO boot media, and then after this we're basically done on the physical side of the server, because all we're going to be doing now is accessing it through a web interface, which does require another device. Obviously, using a phone for this isn't very, the screen real estate, etc. No physical keyboard makes things a lot harder. Same with an iPad really, unless you have a Magic keyboard attached to it. But you can see we're booting, and then we're going to be presented with the IP address you can see there, which is https 192.168.38:8006. So what I'm going to do now is actually get on the web interface, which I'll show you. So I'm in my Chrome browser, what I'm going to do, https://192.168.0.38:8006. You can see mine's already populated because this was installed before. Click on advanced, proceed, unsafe. Don't worry about the connection not being private, as it is your public home network, sorry. For For the username, it's always going to be root, and the password is the one that you set in the installer. Enter. Don't worry about this. This is if you want support, which you're getting for free right now. So do consider donating from the link below, just because I'm providing all this work for free for you, which not a lot of people do on YouTube. So please do consider donating to me, just to help me keep going, paying for things like my website hosting, my download station, which costs a lot of money. So please do consider donating to me. You can see now we're on the Proxmox web interface, so this is sort of your playground, your Hackintosh playground. You can see I've got local and local LVM. Now what I decide to do is usually I like to expand these into just one, which again the commands will be down below obviously. If we go to shell under the home host shell and paste this command in, which is in the description, and press Y, enter, it'll say data successfully removed. If we go to data center, storage, remove local LVM, and then go back to the shell, copy the next command from the description below, paste it in, do that, and then the next command, and do that. Once you've done that, you can see 226 gig. And I recommend you just go to storage and just allow all things on there. Once done, you've got your full disk. Then you might want to know how to add more disks. So it's going to be a bit different for me, but we're going to just wipe all disks. So I've got this NVMe drive, click on wipe disk, and yes, same with this 1TB drive. So I'm just wiping everything except from the boot SSD 4TB drive. Now it says Linux RAID member on my two SSDs, so they might not wipe straight away, so we'll have to see, but if they do, brilliant. You can see I'm wiping everything, including my external USB, which is taking quite a while, but we'll see if these wipe. They actually have, which is impressive. So let's just wipe them both. And what I'm going to do, I'll show you how to add a traditional one, and then I'll show you how to set up RAID, which is how these two are going to be set up. So for a traditional disk, if we go to directory, under disks, click create directory, select the disk. So I'm going to use, you have to go on serial numbers for this, but I'm going to use this 4TB Western Digital, and I'm just going to call it HDD storage. Once done, create. That'll take a moment. Again, hard drives take longer than SSDs, but once that's done, we'll add all the others and I'll show you how to set up RAID. Once it's completed, it'll say task OK, which means it's done, and you'll see it there. Can you see? HDD storage. It's ready. Do all that directory stuff for the others. Some of you might go ahead and complain in the comments saying that the directory option is not the best, but it is for the Hackintosh environment. So please do follow that. For my NVMe drive, I'm going to always make sure that file system's ext4 unless you want to obviously use NFS or something. ZFS. I'm going to call this NVMe. Add. Again, it won't take as long because NVMe's are quicker, so it won't take as long as the hard drive. But adding directories is basically just physically mounting without any overhead such as LVM. It just keeps everything plain and simple, and it also allows you to straight away, if you move a system, you can just attach it as a directory and it'll just be like you're on the previous system. So what I'm going to do, instead of showing you all this stuff, I'm going to just skip along until I've fully done all the disks except the RAID ones, and then we'll obviously go through the RAID. Also, just to note, laptops are not supported in the new way. Not supported. If I do get any comments in the description or any comments in the Discord asking about laptops, I'll go ahead and delete your comment because I've had enough of replying to comments about laptops. So basically, if you have a laptop and you're trying to run the new way, you can't. It's impossible at the moment. It's not doable. You've got factors such as displaying directly through the inbuilt display, getting your integrated keyboard and mouse working, integrated webcam, integrated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It's just not possible at the moment. If you want a Hackintosh, do the old way. So, I'll finish adding these off. Sorry if that sounded like a rant, because it really is. I get a bit sick of replying to laptop questions, so laptops aren't supported. So that's all done. I've added all the disks that aren't going to be raided. So the next command in the description, we might have to install MDADM, MDadmin. If it does this, don't worry. If we go to repos, remove the enterprise repositories, add the non-subscription one, that'll allow us to update the system, which therefore will allow us to install packages. So if you want a video on useful packages for Proxmox, let me know in the comments, and I'll make you some useful tools. You can see it's installing. Once that's done, we can use the command from the description. Again, every command that you see in this video will be in the description below. Hopefully, if I've remembered to include the command. If not, obviously just pop me a message on Discord or the environment, and obviously I'll add it for other people. But we've got this command here. Now this can mean a few different things. If we do the command fdisk --l, this will show us all the disks in the system. What I like to do is just go to disks. So we're looking for these Mercury Electras, which are here, devsdd and devsde. So in that command, dd and de, doesn't matter what order. RAID 0, because I don't care about backing up some VMs, because I've already got it backed up twice. So if I press enter, if sudo isn't found, it's because you're using root. What I like to do, if you get install sudo, it might be a bit of a pain, but a lot of commands use sudo, so just by doing that it adds sort of like a top layer. You can see it's already done, and now if we use mkfs.ext4/dev/mdo, you can see it's going to create the file system across the two disks. Once that's done, we can check it, so we'll check that to make sure it's correct, and then we can add the disk to our boot FS tab, which is quite easy. I won't keep you waiting for this. I will be back once it's finished. Sorry if I say a lot in the video, it's because I'm from the UK. You can see it's done now. Again, the next command is in the description, checks that it's all online, which it is. Now we'll add it to FS tab with the command below. FS tab is basically a grub prototype type thing. If we add it to that, done. Now at boot it will mount that automatically. If we do mount-a, it might do this, systemctl daemon reload, then do it. If it does do that, the mnt mdo, it's because we've not created it, so we'll do mkdir-p/mnt/mdo, do it again, done. Now if we go to data center, storage, add directory, and do the ID as, I'm going to just do it as SSDs, and then do /mnt/md0, and for the, we're just going to do disk images and containers for this. Once done, you can see 2 terabytes, because the 1 terabyte each, that's a RAID 0 volume. So that's it. The next that we're going to move on to is actually GPU pass-through. Now a lot of you complain about not having much video instruction on how to do GPU pass-through, so I'll just show you on my website. We do have a guide. Now it's a bit complicated for newbies, but don't worry, no worries. What we're going to do is walk through it step by step together, which again is how we roll. So the first command here, it just stops all the unnecessary errors that you get, so just copy paste them two in. And then I'm on AMD, so I'm going to copy this side, like you can see. There we go, copy that. Then we can stop that. I'm just double checking that everything's correct here, which it should be. I'm just double checking here, that's right. Now in the CMD line, we're not using ZFS in this case, but if you are, you have to follow that. Now if we do update -grub, it'll update the boot order. If it does this, don't worry, it's just that extra tag that I didn't include, the extra speech mark, which hopefully should be an easy fix. Yeah, so basically that's the main part of GPU pass-through. Now on some systems, if for example, which we're going to do today, pass through a Wi-Fi card as well as the GPU, it can make the system freeze up, because it does do it with this system here. Not to fear, what we'll do is we'll actually download, we'll actually change the grub file again with a unsafe interrupts file, which is no bother. What I'll do is I'll just show you, just give us a moment. So we're actually on the environment here. You can see there's a lot of different posts regarding the different issues that people are having, so GPU pass-through issues, and this is the command that we're going to copy to replace. Again, it's in the description. This is for AMD only though, so bear that in mind. But if you're on Intel, you just add the unsafe interrupts, which I'll show you in a minute. You can see the PCIe override, you just add that to the end, and that's pretty much it. Update grub, and now it's going to generate the grub file again. Once done, it'll say done, and if you're having any problems on the environment, just click start a discussion, sign up for an account, verify your email, and you can start posting whatever problems that you have. So that's great. Now we've done that, so basically you're going to reboot the machine with the reboot command. You can see if we switch over to the display, it's gone off now, but there's a blinking icon in the top left. But once that's done, it's going to reboot and we're going to be back on that screen again, and from there it's pretty straightforward. Again, you don't need to interact with this, as long as it reboots successfully and it's up in within like 5-10 minutes maximum, you'll be fine. There's no need to worry. What I'm going to do is next is downgrade the kernel, to 5.2, I think it is. I've not done that for quite a bit. Basically, what I'll do is I will show you how to downgrade that kernel. So we're back on. You can see if we refresh the page, we're back online. So now let me just grab the commands for that version, and it's kernel 5.15, just to note that. Apologies, so I've got the commands off Tor, because he's the one that knows them, because I've not done this a lot. I've not set up machines that much, because once mine works I stay with it. So I've actually rebuilt my system just for this video, just to show my dedication to YouTube everything was working fine. So let's hope it does work fine now. Now the servers here aren't that good. You can see I'm only getting 4 megabytes per second, which isn't that great. But again, all the commands are down below, and once you have them commands, I will obviously reboot the system again. So I'm going to input, so first we've done the PV kernel itself, and next we're going to do the headers, which are to do with the kernel. So here are the headers that we're downloading, and then we're going to depackage them, and we are going to then pin the bootloader, which will allow us to just reboot and be on kernel 5. So if we do Proxmox boot kernel refresh, oops, sorry about that, Proxmox boot tool refresh, sorry, not kernel refresh. If we do that, add that, and then pin it with the command below that. Obviously all the commands are not below for me because I've not created the guide yet, but for you they're all in one place. And now if we do the refresh command and then reboot the system again, let me show you it rebooting, which is here. Once we've rebooted, basically kernel 5 allows us to actually boot the system with a Wi-Fi card and a graphics card installed when we actually come to create our Hackintosh VM, which is later in this video. Again, it's going to be quite a long video, but everything should be covered in this video. Again, if there's any questions though, please do visit the environment from the description below. The environment's an open source forum made by me and the HSVE team. So this allows you to post any problems that you have, not just with Hackintosh but anything computers, and then we can reply and sort things out for you. So it's booted back up again. So if I refresh, you can see if we go to summary, we're on kernel 5 now. So once we've done that, the next step is actually creating our Hackintosh VM, so it's actually that time. So there's a few steps involved. First is going over to the HSVE website, going over to HSVE Hackintosh, scrolling down to macOS ISOs and HSVE templates, clicking on Sonoma, and then there's two options, there's torrent and there's direct download. So depending on what you want to do, is up to you. I'm going to actually directly download it to my downloads folder, clicking on save. We have decent download speeds on our download server. Again, I pay quite a bit for that, so do consider donating to support me with all that stuff. So once we've got that downloaded, we're going to use a command called SCP, but you can get a Windows version called WinSCP, which is Secure Copy Protocol, which is used to transfer files over to servers, a bit like FTP. It's the exact same really. Once this is downloaded, this is actually macOS Sonoma in just 2 gigabytes of size. Now, it is a bit of a lie because it downloads the installer from the internet, which is over 12 gig, but our servers don't get used up as much, and your bandwidth obviously doesn't affect anyone else. With obviously thousands and thousands of people downloading a 12 gigabyte file, it soon goes down. So we've tried to minimize the first initial download, so we hope you appreciate that. But again, it will take quite a while depending on your internet connection. Once this is downloaded, basically now we're going to get WinSCP from winscp.net, I think, download, and then download it. Once it's downloaded, I'll show you the screen that you're meant to get. Go. So I'll open up, sorry, not WinRAR, WinSCP, and you should get a screen like this. Now, we're going to do 192.168.0.38 for the IP, because that's what IP we're using. Username is root, and the password is the one that we set in installer. Press enter, click on yes, and let's ignore WinRAR. That's enough. So we're in, the right side here is the server and the left side is my PC. So on the server, if we double click to go back, scroll down to var, lib, scroll down again, vz, dump. The dump folder is empty, but if we go to my downloads folder and copy this over, this is the template file. So it shouldn't take too long, again because it's small. You can see about 20 seconds, so I don't even need to edit this bit out, just because of how quick it is. Basically, once this is done, it's literally a one-click process basically, but again I'll show you that in a moment. Obviously things have changed, I've got a new server, so now I'm on AMD, so there is an additional step if you're on AMD, but it's not too bad. You can see it's copied over. If we go back to my host and go to the local volume, backups, you can see the template file there. Click on restore, choose a storage. I'm going to put it on my NVMe drive. The VM ID, put it to whatever you want. I'll just leave it at that. Give it a name, so I'm just going to call it workstation. Give it an amount of RAM and the amount of cores. I recommend you leave it at 4 for now until the installer, just because it can freeze up. If we click on restore now, it will begin to restore macOS Sonoma. You can see it's very fast doing that. Once that's done, it'll say task OK. Now at the top, if we click on that VM, you can see it's all ready for us. If we go to the notes section and click the little settings cog and copy these args, just this is for AMD, don't do this if you're not on AMD, but this is because I'm on AMD. I'm copying those, going to the host shell, and then doing nano /etc/pve/qemu server /100.conf, which is 100 here. Enter, and then these args here, comment them out with the hash symbol and paste the new ones in. Control XY, enter, go to console, start the VM. Now I recommend you're not attaching a GPU just yet. You can do if you really want to, but I just recommend not doing that as of yet, just because it makes it easier for you to copy over the EFI and stuff, and if things get messed up you can see it on screen without obviously looking through your GPU. Once that's sorted, you can see it's loading and will be in the installer shortly. If you don't like this big resolution, what I do is if you stop the VM, I don't personally like it, just change this to default instead of VMware compatible. Then if we click start now and then boot into the installer again, I'll meet you obviously when I am in the installer. So we're in the installer with a double click into disk utility. We've got an Apple Link Vertio block media, defaultly set at 128 GB. Click on erase, name it whatever you want, macOS for me. Click on erase. If it sounds like I'm speed running this, it's not a speed run, it's just easy. You shouldn't really need a lot of guidance with this, clicking on install and stuff. But I'll just go full screen so you can see it better. We can agree to the terms if you obviously agree to them, which I do. And once we've done that, sometimes you get a spinning wheel. It's because it's downloading from the internet. At this point I can actually see my network switch lights lighting up, which is obviously a good sign. Clicking on agree, agree again, clicking on macOS, click continue. Now we'll let this installer run. You can leave it as it is because it'll just run through itself. It'll go down this 2 hours, usually about 12 minutes once it goes down. So I won't keep you waiting for that, of course, so I'll meet you back in a moment. So at some point you'll get to this screen where it'll show you a countdown. Obviously this is the final step in installation, and again it's a hands-off, really headless install once you click go. And soon we'll be on the Sonoma setup screen, so I'll meet you on that. So you can see I'm on the setup screen. Now it's white the background. Not to fear, it's because we've not got a GPU pass through. That's what we'll get onto next. So first we're going to go through the installer as per normal, and then we're going to pass through the GPU, but before that we need to pass through the right EFI. So we're going to skip all the Apple ID and migration just for now because we've not got the right SM BIOS. I'm going to agree to the terms, give my account a name, and click on continue. So once we're on the Sonoma desktop, I'll walk you through how to get the right EFI for your system and how to move it to the correct location. This will allow you to actually get the right EFI for your system, set your own SM BIOS up so you can have a Mac Mini, Mac Pro, whatever you want, and then we can pass through the GPU along with USB devices such as our Bluetooth and Wi-Fi card. Again, I'm not enabling location services. Select the correct time zone. Not sharing Mac Analytics with Apple. So just walk through, just skip the Apple ID stuff and everything. Once done, we'll be on the desktop soon, and we'll be ready to pick our EFI folder. So you can see we're on the desktop. We're going to give it a moment, obviously. It is very slow. Just because we've not got a GPU pass through, you can see it's using software rendering, which is heavy on the CPU. But once we've got this desktop, if we go to Finder, go to HSVE, and then move this Get Started folders to the downloads. This just makes it easier later when we detach it, which I'll walk through obviously later in this video. I hope I've covered everything for you, but again, if you are stuck with any part of this guide, please do visit obviously the comments section or create a post in the environment, which is environment.hsve.org. Once this is copied, if we double click inside, we get two folders. So we get tools and EFIs. So if we double click into tools first, we get a lot of Hackintosh tools. The one we're focusing on is Open Code Configurator. If we just click that once, it will show this up. So we need to right click and click on open. And then click on open again. Once it's open, if we go to tools at the top, mount EFI, mount partition, type in your account password, click on open partition. It's a blank EFI partition. If we go back to where our tools folder is, and then go to EFIs, we're going to select the correct EFI folder. So we've got a no GPU EFI for people not using a GPU. We've got native GPUs, legacy NVIDIA GPUs, and 5000, 6000 series AMD GPUs. To check which is the right one, we go to hsve.org, and we then click on the Hackintosh section, go to GPU guide. It does say GPUs that are under native 5000, 6000 and NVIDIA. So let me get that page up for you. So we're on the compatibility checklist. You can see 5000, 6000 series are all here. Native are the ones below here, and then the NVIDIA ones are supported here. So I'm running the RX 570. It's actually a 580 2048 SP, which is here. But it's masked as a 570. So if we double click on that native GPU EFI folder, double click into that folder, you've got an EFI folder inside of that. We need to copy the EFI folder, not the stuff inside it, the actual folder. So we'll have an EFI partition with a folder called EFI inside of that. It should look exactly like this. If it does, go back to Open Code Configurator, unmount the partition, shut down macOS, which I'll do now, and we're ready to remove our extra disks that are installed. Easy enough, which I'll walk through now. So we go to hardware, and then remove the IDE drives, so detach them both, then remove them. You can keep them attached, but I just remove them. And now what I recommend doing is going over to snapshots, take one, call it clean install, and then you've got a restore point there for a clean installation. If we boot back macOS now, just to do one thing, and that's enable screen sharing. Obviously you can pass through your USB keyboard and mouse, but just because it's attached to my gaming PC and that's how I'm making this video, obviously I can't do that, so I'll have to control it through VNC, but you're going to actually see a live feed from the GPU once I've enabled this setting. So we'll wait for Sonoma to load up, type in our password, and then go to system settings and obviously sharing, screen sharing, which is, you know, how you can access your Mac remotely, which I do actually do from my MacBook Pro, but you can see general sharing, this is under system settings, and then screen sharing, turn that on, and then that's it. So we can shut down now and I'll walk you through GPU pass-through. So this is the actual biggest part, so this is the actual pass-through of your GPU. So we've prepared for it, we've had all the grub commands which are earlier in this video if you haven't seen it and you've skipped along, which I certainly don't recommend you doing. I recommend you watching it all the way through. Just because any commands that are missed, obviously your system won't boot properly. So I recommend you just watch it through. Anyway, on the hardware section, click on Add PCI Device, and then raw device, find it. So mine's in here, so we don't want the audio, we want the actual root device. Click on advanced here, click on all functions, make sure ROM bar is ticked, PCI Express and primary GPU. Now some won't work if you tick these two. Now I can untick this PCI Express, but basically what will happen, sound won't work, etc. Primary GPU sometimes doesn't work either. Again, depending on your system, tweak around with those settings. Then on display, double click into that and set that to none. Then we're going to add another device, which is going to be our wireless network adapter. So for this, obviously I'm going to do the PCI Express but not the primary GPU because it's not a graphics card. Add USB device port. You can see these are where your USBs are plugged in. So if I had my keyboard and mouse plugged in right now, it'd show up as, for example, for my mouse, Razer Death Adder Essential. But for now, I'm just passing through the USB Bluetooth that's built into the Fenvi card. Once that's done, if I click on Start, then once we've clicked on Start, basically, if we look at that GPU now, we should see a display output to it. So let's see. So it may take a moment because again it is a difficult process for the system because it has to group IOMMU groups and things, so we're just going to wait for that. Once it's done, you should get a display output. I'm just using VNC just because I've not got my keyboard and mouse to pass through, as it is plugged into my PC, but you should see it on your physical output to your monitor. Once you do, there's a few final steps. So we can generate an SMBIOS, which allows us to actually use Apple ID, and we can also try to see if we can fix the RAM. So if we look at about this Mac, for example, I'll just show you what I mean by the RAM. So you can see the GPU showing up just fine, and it thinks it's a Xeon, and you can see it just says 8GB RAM. Now we can fix this by going and opening up OpenCode Configurator. This is probably the tool that you're going to use most, is OpenCode Configurator. So if I click Mount EFI and then mount that EFI just as before, instead of just copying an EFI over, we're going to open the partition, double click into the EFI, double click into OC, and double click on config.plist, and then go to platform info. We can generate an SMBIOS. So generally there's a few ways you can do this. You can actually just use the gen SMBIOS command that we have in our tools folder, or you can use OpenCode Legacy Patcher. So on memory, we're going to do that first. So I'm going to set that to synchronous, the type detail. The type, I'm going to set it to LPDDR4 just because I'm doing a Mac Mini SMBIOS. The total width and data width is mostly always going to be 64 form factor I'm going to put as SOD in. Now, I've given this 8 gigs of RAM, so I'm going to do 2 4 gig sticks, so 4096 for both. And then the speed, I'll just do 2933. Try and match it with your system, so I know that mine's that. Then, if we click on save. Now, sometimes you get that where it'll just load. If we quit out of Open Core Legacy Patcher and open it up again, it'll allow us to hopefully do it. Instead of keeping you waiting, obviously I'll wait until this loads up. So you can see I just rebooted the machine just because it was doing that. Obviously, hopefully you don't have the same problem. You can actually see the physical output of the display now, but I'm just using VNC. So it should be a lot smoother for you than me through a VNC connection, and you can actually see stuff before I do. So let me try Open Core Configurator again, and let's see if it's still doing the swirling thing. If it is, I'll have to do some further investigation. Hopefully it's not though, because it makes it more of a pain for me. Obviously, EFI folder, it's a lot more laggy on my VNC connection than it is in real, because you're getting it straight up. It's still doing the loading symbol for some reason, which is a bit of a shame. I'm just going to leave it for about 5 minutes and just see if it pops up. So I do believe that the Open Core servers are down right now, and that's why it's not actually showing it up on that list next to check coverage. So basically what I'll do is I'll show you my existing Hackintosh that I'm actually just restoring right now. So basically what this does is, because I've obviously already got my Hackintosh installed, what I'm going to do is just restore it from my backup server. So I'll just show you that, the process. So I'm installing it on my NVMe drive, and I'm going to let that restore. Shouldn't take too long. You can see it's already going quite quick. And I'm going to just shut down that existing one. And then what I'll do, I'll just show you what updating the SM BIOS is. Apologies for not including it in this video, unfortunately it's out of my hands. But I'll meet you back once this is restored and fully booted up. So here's my real Hackintosh that I use on the daily, and it'll actually be the video, the thing featured in this video today. Sorry if I'm stumbling my words today, I don't know what's up. But here's Sonoma. I'm going to have to obviously set VNC up, just so then I can obviously move the mouse and stuff. You sort of probably get the gist of it, but I'll just show you anyway. So this is my main Hackintosh, so this is what yours could look like once you have the SM BIOS changed. So let me just log in. So I'm using VNC to just pass the keyboard and mouse through, but obviously you'd use USB pass through. So you can see pretty bare bones really, but if we go to about this Mac, you can see this is what mine looks like. So I've got I've given it 8 cores, the RX 570 and 16 gigs of RAM, and that's Sonoma 14.0, the latest version. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously Bluetooth should work straight out of the box, but Wi-Fi doesn't. If you want a video on how to get Wi-Fi working in Sonoma with the new cards, please do let us know and I will feature it in a video. But thanks ever so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please obviously leave a like. Consider donating, as all the work that I do is free, so just make sure that obviously you show your appreciation. That's by either leaving a like, subscribing to my channel, even donating, or becoming a member of the channel to show your appreciation. Thanks ever so much for watching. Goodbye.